Welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarabi, and today I don't have my headphones on, which means that this is indeed manga content video day. Now, I'm gonna try something new, because I can't really always be doing a manga haul, and I can't always just be like going through my collection, but I'm gonna try more of a manga review of what I've read in the last 2 months, so January and February. Now, moving forward, I don't know if it'll always be month by month or it'll be like 2 months or it'll be 3 months, sort of a wrap up, but I'm gonna try it out and see how this goes. But I'm excited. I have been picking up a lot of manga. I've been getting rid of a lot of manga just because, hey, you just sometimes I gotta let go. I gotta let go. There were some that I was holding on to for no reason, and it was just some of them had to go. So I've been picking up manga. I've been trying to go through my collection and actually reading what I have, which is hard because then I always end up at the bookstore and then I always end up with more manga that I come back home to. It's fine. It's just a cycle. It's a vicious cycle. But I've been trying to get through my manga collection and I've been reading a lot more, which props to me because it's been an intense beginning of the year. But yeah, I've been going through a lot and I'm just gonna talk about them. Now, since this is the first time I'm doing this on my channel, I'm gonna do my absolute best to try to keep it consistent. So we're gonna see what we're gonna be talking about, right? Basically what I thought, you might get a little rant, you might get a little craziness from me. Maybe a little like, 2-star, 3-star out of 5 stars sort of situation. Some of these are, I've read the entire series, and some of these I'm just reading a few volumes out of the series, so it's gonna be like that. I'll let you know which ones I've read the whole series of and which ones I've read just a few volumes of. And then just like a little, of how I feel about it. I don't know if I'm gonna drop it or if I'm gonna continue on with it, or I absolutely love it. So this is gonna be a little bit all over the place, but I am chaotic, so this is very much in line with how I am as a human being. So I'm excited, you're excited, let's get into this video. Moving forward, I will have to sort of streamline this and figure out a better way to do it, because sometimes it'll just be me and my thoughts, and sometimes me and my thoughts are too much. So, like get down to the nitty gritty, how I feel about it, a rating, and then like, I don't even remember what I said earlier. A rating, how I felt about it, whether or not I finished the series or a few volumes, and then maybe a rant. There won't always be a rant. Maybe there's a rant. I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, we're just gonna jump into it. So first one we're gonna talk about is my new wife's fake smile. Now, I'm not a romance girly when it comes to manga. It is something that I'm learning to undo about myself because I am very rigid in my manga tastes, and I'm learning to undo it. But this was me in the attempt to undo that, and I will say I enjoyed this. I've only read the first volume. I know there's volume 2 and 3 already out, or the third one is coming out. I don't know. I do know that this is a complete series because this had come out, I think, during the pandemic. And I'd read the first chapter back in the day, and then I just never went back because I am nothing if not inconsistent. But I will say I did enjoy this. This right now, volume 1, 5 out of 5 stars. Will this continue to be 5 out of 5 stars? I do not know, and I'll tell you why. Because this feels like something that could be a repetitive story type. And what I mean by that is that this right now doesn't have an overarching story. There is nothing for me to cling on to get to the next volume. This is very episodic and it's very, very just cutesy, which I can appreciate and I can see a lot of people appreciating it, but I don't know how it's gonna go for me because there comes a time where I get bored. Now, moving forward, even if this stays episodic, I don't know if this is something that I'll use as a palate cleanser or just to like, kick my feet and be a little giggly at, because this was very, very cute. Because when I talked about this, I think it was in a manga haul that I had done, or it was like what I'll be reading in 2026. Now, this is a cute series. This is a cute series. And basically, this is a story about Soichiro and Chio, right? And I believe he's either the youngest son of a affluent family, and this is set during like the Meiji period, I believe, as right around the end of the Meiji period. But he is either the youngest son or the middle son. I do not remember. He's the son of an affluent family. He's a samurai, and he is in an arranged marriage with this girl here, Chio. Now, the whole title of my new wife's fake smile, he thinks that she absolutely hates him, and it's because every time they're around one another, she has this really fake forced smile on her face, and he is just trying every which way to like please her so that she can feel that he deserves her, which cute premise, right? Adorable premise. This is essentially the miscommunication trope done in a very cute way. And I can appreciate that because let me tell you, if it's one thing that I absolutely dislike in tropes, it's the miscommunication tropes because it can get very, very annoying for me. People love that, and you know what? I'm not here to judge. What you like is what you like, but sometimes this can get very, very annoying if done improperly. But I think this is actually done pretty cutesy, pretty funsy and all of that. And the reality of it all, right? The reality of this situation is she is in fact absolutely in love with him. She is head over heels in love with him, but she does not want to seem like for lack of a better term, she doesn't want to seem like a fangirl. So she tries to like dial it back so immensely that it looks like she's forcing like expressions in front of him. So he doesn't know that she's absolutely in love with him, and she doesn't know that he's absolutely in love with her. So it's just this like constant like, little things happening, and she gets like flustered around him, and then he's doing a little few things, and then she gets flustered, or he gets flustered around her, sort of situation. And in all honesty, this girl, she's kind of a badass. Like in this first volume, she's like kicking butt and taking names. She's like trying to protect him in like some of the shenanigans that happens in this first volume. And again, right now there is no overarching story, so I don't know how this is gonna go, but I'm excited to find out. I will have to pick up volume 2 at some point. I don't know when. I will have to pick up volume 2, and then volume 3 is coming out. But I do know that I think this series has maybe less than 100 chapters, or it has like 150. I don't think there's any more than 150 chapters in this series, so it's not going to be a very long-running series, but I'm interested to see where this goes. And at the end of the day, if there is no overarching story, I think this will definitely be like a palate cleanser for me, like something if I want like cutesy energy, because I was kicking my feet and giggling and just absolutely having a good time in this. So regardless, I think I'm going to enjoy the series moving forward. But do with the other information as you will. Oh, also, yeah, 5 out of 5 for right now. We'll see where this goes moving forward. Next up is Manhole. Now, this is a 3-volume series. I read the entire series, and to put it quite bluntly, this was interesting. This was an interesting story because, okay, 4 out of 5 stars for the entire series because I can see what the vision was. I think for me, there wasn't enough time. Oh, wow. Excuse me. I think there was just, I didn't feel like there was enough time given to the end of the plot, if that makes sense. Like there wasn't enough time for what happened in the last like volume and a half to take place, if that makes sense. Because basically this is of a story of, someone crawling out of a manhole, and they are like absolute, like they're riddled with a certain like this disease. And basically these 2 cops try to figure out who is causing the disease, where is the disease being who is this guy who crawled out of the manhole, essentially, right? Because they couldn't figure him out. And then There is just like this cat and mouse situation that ensues, and they're trying to find out the person who is essentially trying to create a pandemic. And what ends up happening is, I'm trying to figure out a way not to make it spoilers, but I feel like it's just going to end up being that way. So do be forewarned. But basically, there is this man who happened to be a scientist, and he is trying to right the wrongs that have been done to him and his family. And essentially, he creates this disease, and the disease is interesting because the disease is a side effect of a parasite, and the parasite is meant to curb the the impulses of humans, right? And there is an interesting like philosophical conversation you could have out of this story. And listen, I'm a sucker for a philosophical conversation, right? AOT, FMA, Death Note, Psychopaths, all of those stories have these really intricate, like, philosophical conversations you can have behind it. And this is probably another series where you could make an argument that it does have a philosophical argument for wanting to control, like, human impulses. And I can see it. I can see it. I don't know if 3 volumes was enough, if that makes sense. I don't think maybe 5 volumes would have been enough for it to feel like a story that was given enough time and room to breathe. But that just could be me. Some people could read this and probably be fine with it being in 3 volumes. And you know what? If anything, like, I'm fine with the 3 volumes. I am fine. I'm totally fine. I just feel like it should have been given at least 4 volumes. You know what I mean? Just a little bit extra time to breathe and really set the story for it to be this chaotic, right? Because it just felt like it went through really fast for a story that was trying to do a lot, if that makes sense. But overall, I think this is like a 4 out of 5 star. I will say, if the whole COVID situation really, like, it was a lot for you, I don't know if this is a series for you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, definitely go into this with a lot of trigger warnings. I don't know where the trigger warnings could be found. I am the type of person who looks at trigger warnings and thinks, oh, that's the menu. But, like, I can see why a lot of people might find this a little bit triggering. So, definitely, if this is something you want, like a psychological horror thriller, there's body horror in here. So, if that is something also that kind of like irks you, be careful with this one. But I do think it's an interesting read. And definitely, like, if you're into like philosophical conversations about, like, do people deserve to have free will, that sort of thing, this is it. This is a good one. This is a good, interesting one. So definitely, if that's your thing, definitely get to this. I do recommend if that's your thing. If not, don't touch it. The next one is Goku Raku Gai. Now, I will say it did take me a hot minute to end up reading this. Usually when I buy new volumes, I just end up reading it within like a week of purchasing it. But I think I was in the middle of like other series and I was just like, I was trying to be diligent and finish things and not be this person anymore. But I am, in fact, this person. But I read volume 1 and 2. Both are like 4 out of 5 stars for me right now. And I have 3 and 4 right there. And I will be reading that soon. When? Don't know. Soon? Maybe. But it's very much set up like a regular shonen story where I don't remember his name, but her name I believe is Alma. And he is half demon. He's a half demon, but he's also like wanting to destroy half demons. That Eren Yeager where it's like you're a Titan, but you also want to eradicate Titans. Tokyo Ghoul, Kaneki being half ghoul, even though he wants to like destroy all the ghouls situation. So it is that very like shonen-esque like archetype of a story. And I'm not, you know what, usually like it's not my favorite type of story, but I got behind this one very quickly. And I think a lot of it had to do with their relationship, because this is very much feeling like a 2MC sort of situation where even though he is like the main one, she very much has a lot to do with his background story. I just haven't figured it out yet, right? For anyone who's probably reading it week to week or month to month, I don't know actually how often this chapter gets released, but I am very interested in their relationship because he has this really undying loyalty to her, and I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't remember it being like explained in volumes 1 or 2, but I could be wrong, and it just might be something that's slipping my mind. But there is this undying loyalty that he has to her, and I think it has to do with his like him being half demon, but I don't remember. But I'm really interested in their relationship and their dynamic, and I think that's what really like kept me to this series. I also think the artwork is in this is actually really really good. Now, a lot of the panels is very much like, you know, what you will see in a regular shonen. Like, it's not too flashy, but I do like some of the settings, like when you get to some of the like the pages of like places, I do think the artwork is actually like it's detailed, it's really pretty, and I think it's just like gorgeous because good man, I could never do that. But I am interested to see where this goes. There was like another character in volume 2 that had popped up that has to do with her, and there it gave it this air of like mystery. So I'm very interested to see where volume 2 and 3 goes, or 3 and 4 goes, and then I will make my decision on whether or not I want to continue this story. But for right now, I'm really enjoying myself, and I didn't know if I was going to. The next one is Arabana. I think that's how you say it, but I think this is officially complete at 3 volumes. The third one hasn't come out yet. I am thinking about just reading those last whatever chapters in volume 3 online. But I'm gonna be 1000% honest. I do not know how to rate this story because I don't know how to feel about it. I don't know how to feel about it. I could change my mind by the time I get to volume 3 and I'm like, this is an absolute 5 out of 5. But I cannot gauge how I feel about this story. I feel unsettled when I read this story. And here's the thing. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I gravitate towards darker stories. It's just the stuff that I like. But this is dark, and I feel depressed when I read this. And I just you gotta listen. If this is something you want to read, definitely, if things can trigger you, find a trigger warning list, because I definitely am not adequate enough to list all the trigger warnings in this story, but this is definitely a story that is really dark and it can be a lot. It can be a lot. Like, when I finished volume 2, I put it down and I was like, I don't know if I can go to bed right now because I read this in the middle of the night. But this is basically a story about this girl who, what's her name? Mizuki. Mizuki is this girl just living her life. She's 18 years old. She's in high school. And what happens is she just has a series of unfortunate events, right? That happen. And when I say unfortunate events, I mean dark and unfortunate. And what ends up happening is that her best friend ends up getting like just murdered. And they're trying to find out who murdered her best friend. But what ends up happening is that she becomes a suspect, and then she's trying to confess to the murder. And I don't even know. Like, it's just like it's this story that starts out with the murder of them trying to find out who killed the best friend, her confessing, and then it's like this volume, and I don't know what volume 3 is going to offer, but it's the unraveling up until what happens with the best friend. So it's like taking you back in time, and it's unraveling the series of events that take place before her consequential like confession to the murder. So it's giving Quentin Tarantino almost, you know, like how it takes you back in time and then it shows you everything that happens before, like, you know, the whatever event takes place. So I am interested to see. I am interested to continue, but I don't know how to feel about this series. I mean, artwork wise, Absolutely beautiful. Artwork wise, I think this is absolutely gorgeous. It has that sense of realism that Inyo Asano works has. You know what? You know what? You know what? If you happen to like Girl on the Shore from Inyo Asano, this might be a story that you would also gravitate towards. I'm not going to say like love because this is crazy. But I will say this is probably another story that you would gravitate towards because it's very much that like what can make somebody tick type situation. And very, very much like anyways, but yeah, I think the artwork is very gorgeous. And again, if you like Inyo Asano like art, then this is definitely something that you would also like in a story and in the art style. So, art style 5 out of 5. Story, I do not know what to give it. I don't. I truly do not. I am at a loss for words with this story for right now, but we'll see when I read the last volume. Next up is This Summer Hikaru Died. I read volume 1 and 2. I will say, I don't think I've picked up a lot of horror manga, but I think I'm finding a home in the horror manga genre because this is like, I was about to say gorgeous. The artwork is gorgeous for sure, but this is a very like creepy series that I'm learning to really love, right? I think I very much feel like I'm gonna fly through this series if I had all of it, because right now I think I only have volume 3 left and I need to get the rest of it. And I don't think that there is that many volumes. I think it's gonna be like 15 volumes. Yeah, I don't think this is a long series. I might be mistaken, but I do like this series for right now. I haven't gotten far, obviously. I'm only in volume 2. But volume 1 and volume 2 definitely 5 out of 5 stars for both volumes. I do like the creepy intrigue. I like the dynamic between Hikaru and Yoshiki, and just like seeing the dynamic trying to find itself, because it's not like, spoiler, it's not Hikaru. Like, it's not actually Hikaru, but he's like trying to find Hikaru in this thing that isn't Hikaru. And like you can see like the dilemma that he like Yoshiki has with the entity that is now residing in Hikaru. And it's just like, it's really interesting because it's like him wanting to let go but him not finding a way to let go. And it's just interesting. I think it's a very interesting and like thoughtful dynamic that is happening between the two of them. And I feel like my feelings are going to get hurt in this series, but I don't know how, but I know it will. I know for sure that it will. So is it crazy if I say I'm excited to see how this is going to hurt my feelings? Yeah, it definitely might make me weird, but I am in fact a weird person. So I'm excited to get really knee deep in this series. I just have to find the time to pick up all the volumes, which is a problem I have with a lot of series that I own. But it's fine. That's my problem and nobody else's problem. So next one is Mujina Into the Deep. This is volume 3. Now, I initially thought that this was going to end at 4 volumes. Turns out, I don't think there's a way. Even if there was a will, there was no way. Because in this volume, there was no way. I was like, in my head, I was like, if this is a setup to end in volume 4, how is the story not seeming like it's finishing? Even though, like, I'm going to be honest, I don't know what this series is about entirely. Like, it's very much about this, like, this girl right here. I keep forgetting her name. But she's a Mujina, and Mujina are these, like, class of people who have lost their human rights, essentially. And the thing with them losing their human rights is that they don't get prosecuted, right? They can commit crime, they can do all these things, and, you know, nobody's running after them. But the fact is like, you don't have your human rights anymore. So it's like you're a secondary class citizen, but there are these like groups of people who are just existing as Mujina. And what happens is with a lot of Mujina in the case of this story is that people use them to like proxy battle, right? People will hire Mujina and they will kill each other, right? To like, you know, to be essentially like a proxy battle. So there is like a lot going on with this main character. It's her like finding a found family. It's her just trying to exist in this world as a Mujina, but like there is another story behind it, right? And I feel like I might have to reread this series. As much as I took notes. As much as I tabbed this manga, I feel like I need to go back and I need to reread this series because there was like a background story with her that I don't want to say because I feel like it does lead into the main plot of this, and I don't want to I don't want to ruin it for anybody. So I'm not going to say too much about it. But this also feels like a reflection of the real world. And when I say a reflection of the world, I mean like the whole Epstein file situation. This feels like a reflection of the situation, right? Like the whole, rich people essentially like they run the world. They run the world, and there's this like evil, dark seediness to all of that, and this very much reflects it. So I feel like Inyo Asano, when he was writing this, was very much like, what's going on in the world, and how can I reflect it in my writing, which I feel like he's very good at so far in the Inyo Asano works that I have read, which I believe is this and Girl on the Shore, and there was another one. I feel like there was another one, but I can't think of it right now. But this is right now, like all 3 volumes that I've read, art style, 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5, can't say anything about it. I will say the storyline also, even though I can't fully comprehend it, and this is just me, a me thing, when I can't comprehend the story, even though I will say this series has me gripped to every volume that I'm reading. So every time I'm reading, I can't put it down until I'm done. So by that mere fact, I will say the storyline is 5 out of 5 because it takes a lot for me to like stay glued to something regardless. So right now, 5 out of 5 for the story, even though I can't fully comprehend it. And again, that's my own issue and nobody else's. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I don't know how much longer it's going to be right now, because I know there's a 4th volume coming out. I don't know if it's going to be like less than 10 sort of situation. I don't know if it's going to be less than 10 or if it's going to be more than 10. I don't know. I don't see this story going more than 10 volumes, if that makes sense. But could there be a possibility? Sure. I'm not Inyo Asano. Next one is Guilty Smile. Now, if you like a spicy manga, this is for you. I will say the spice in this is not the plot, if that makes sense. Like, the spice is there. Is the spice the plot? No. Also, there's some triggers to this, and I will say, go into this with caution. This was a sad one. This is another sad one. I enjoyed it, but I was also really sad when I was enjoying it, if it makes sense. At the beginning of all of this, in this story, I didn't know what was going to happen with the dynamic of the 2 sisters in this story, and I'll give a little synopsis about it. But basically, there is this kingdom, forgot the kingdom's name, and basically there are these twin sisters who are born in this kingdom. In this kingdom, the lore is if twin sisters are born, or twin sisters, not specifically, but twins are born, one is of the devil. So what ends up happening is Malaika and Layla are the 2 twins. Layla gets put up into, the tippy top of the castle, very like Rapunzel-esque type situation where she's not allowed to like see the light of day, but Malaika is allowed to live her life as the true heir of the kingdom. And nobody knows that Layla exists, but Malaika knows, and obviously the royal family knows. So that happens. They grow up very separate, but Malaika always visits Layla, but Layla doesn't know anything about the outside world. So what ends up happening is that this guy, who is the 3rd son of a rival kingdom, ends up getting like captured by Malaika and Layla's kingdom. And because Layla is, up in the tower, not being allowed to like live her life, Layla is Malaika. I keep forgetting which twin is which twin. But Malaika and her father basically end up abusing him, right? Because he's the son of a rival kingdom. And unbeknownst to them, Layla is visiting him, and he doesn't really know who's who, right? He doesn't know that there's a twin sister, but he knows that there is this person who's visiting him, bringing him food, bringing him books and stuff like that. And so years later, I believe, not too much later, like he ends up getting, he gets out. And then he overthrows Malaika and Layla's kingdom. So he takes it over. He becomes the new king, and he takes Layla hostage, thinking that she is Malaika. And, in the background of all of this, he's in love with the person that has been bringing him things. You know what I mean? Like the person who's been bringing, but he doesn't know who that is. He doesn't know that it's Layla, the person that he has taken hostage, thinking it's the person who was his abuser. So he is, abusing her, trying to exact revenge on her. And that's basically like the story where it's like he's exacting revenge, but then he's like, there's like this sliver of doubt of who this person could be, because now he's like remembering Layla. And then all of this sort of situation happens. It is a sad story. It ends up being a story about like trying to protect innocence, and it's not with who you think it is, right? It like pleasantly surprised me about the message that I ended up like reading about at the end of this like series. Oh, actually, yeah, I read the whole series. It's 3 volumes, so it's not very much, it's not a commitment. So if you want to like pick it up and read it in one sitting, you probably could. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't know that this was where it was going to go at the end of the series. And if you decide to read it, you'll know what I'm talking about if you read the series. It is very sad, but there's also this like, I can't even tell you. I was very pleasantly surprised by this series. And you know what? Because of the last part of it, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. Otherwise, it would have been like a 3 out of 5 for me. But because of the whole like ending, it bumped it up for me. Art style though, gorgeous. I will say it's very much like romancy. So it's like very like there's not really anything that I could show, but you can see it on the cover where it's very like soft lines and very gorgeous artwork. So artwork 5 out of 5. Storyline 4 out of 5. I will say. But yeah, I would recommend. It's a very short series. It's something that you can do in like a day if you have the reading stamina for it. It's pretty good. I will recommend. At first I wasn't going to recommend it, but then because of what I read in the last one, I was like, you know what? This gives it a little something for me to be like, highly recommend. You know what I mean? Next up is Game Between the Suits. This is another spicy manga. I think this was like back in the day when Steamship was like the tippy top of like the part of Seven Seas, but I don't know. I could be misremembering. This series, I don't know if it's actually finished. I cannot tell you. I feel like it's ended, but I could be wrong. It doesn't say final volume. Or it could be that Viz is the only one that does final volumes on the back. But this was an interesting story. This is like a workplace romance. And these two characters, do I remember their name? Fuck no. These two characters, because I'll tell you why. I've been reading the series for like 5 years at this point because the time between volumes was massive. But this is like a workplace romance. I hesitate to say workplace romance. If you're looking for a happily ever after, I don't think this is it. At least if this is the end, I don't think this is a happily ever after. But basically these two people who work together need relief. You know what I mean? As adults do. They need relief. And they decide to find relief in one another. And they like come up with this like, friends with benefits situation. And I think she is his senior in the workplace, and I think she is like a few years older than him, and she's just like very much like no riffraff, no, like she doesn't really give a fuck. right? She's blunt. She's just sort of like living her best life. She doesn't want extra shit. She just wants, she just wants relief. And who can blame her? She's a high-powered woman. So she agrees to the situation with him. And he is a playboy. He's a playboy. He thinks that she's gonna fall in love with him, and she's like, absolutely not. I'm only here for one thing, and I'm here for a good time, not a long time. And that's like their situation, back and forth. I believe from the first few volumes, it's just a back and forth situation, and then I believe like volume 3 or volume 4, right? Oh, this might be spoiler. I'm not even going to say what I was going to say because I think it is a spoiler. But there's like a moment in between, right? Volume 3-ish, where there's a moment that happens. And she's like, we're not going to do this. We're not playing games, right? Hence the name, Game Between the Suits. But like, she's not giving him anything that he wants. And he is just like, he's upsetty spaghetti about it. He's essentially upsetty spaghetti about it. And it doesn't get any better, right? Like, they sort of, like, call it quits. And, like, that's how it ends. As of right now. I'm pretty sure that's spoiling it. But, like, like, they just kind of call it quits. There's no happily ever after in this situation. It's giving real world. And it kind of hurt my feeling because it was, like, just felt like a situationship that I had. So, it is what it is. But yeah, like, it's a story. Like, artwork 4 out of 5, 4 out of 5, at least for me. Story was getting kind of away from me. So story for me is maybe 3.5 out of 5, 4 stars. It was getting away from me. Do I recommend it? Sure. Like, if you want something more closer to what could happen in real life, if you don't want something that's like too lovey-dovey, insta-love type of situation, then I do recommend this. If you want insta-love, if you want lovey-dovey, if you want all of that, then I don't know if this is for you. But take that with a grain of salt. Next up, Assassin and Cinderella. Now, this is another attempt at me being a better person in my life. This could go very well, or I could give up on this series. And this is like that dilemma with my new wife's fake smile, where it's like, if the storyline doesn't get anywhere, this might just be a palate cleanser for me when I just want like a cute time. Granted, there was a setup in like the second volume where there's potential that it could be different, and I'm looking forward to it. So in the first one, cutesy. In the second one, there's a setup, and I'm hinging on the fact that the setup is gonna go somewhere like interesting. I don't think that this is also a longer series. I think this is less than 10 volumes. This has to be less than 10 volumes. 15 at best, if I'm remembering correctly. But this is a story about an assassin, 2 assassins, essentially, and they are in this arranged marriage together. And he knows, because she does not know how to be an assassin. She is the type of assassin that specializes in seduction. And he's not, he's the real deal, essentially, right? He's the real deal. And he knows that she's an assassin. He knows that she is trying to get information about him to her organization. And he's just very much okay with it. He's just like, yeah. And I don't remember in the first volume if he's like head over heels in love with her, but he very much likes her. And then in the second volume, it kind of like it gets deepened and everything, right? And it's like insta love-ish. So if that's your thing, this might be for you. I think it is very cute. I think very cute. I think the art is very gorgeous. 5 out of 5 for the art. I think the story right now, it's giving for me 3.5. It has the potential to get better, but for right now, I think this is good. I think I'm gonna give it usually I just give series 3 volumes before I'm like, either I'm going to attempt to give it another 3 or I give up. But I'm gonna give this 4 volumes. I'm gonna give it 4 volumes. If something doesn't change, I think I might have to give up on this series, unfortunately, because I'm trying. I really am. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm trying not to give too much spoilers, but I feel like it's hard because then like I'm missing a lot. But it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. You know what? Try it out for yourself. If the like fluffy type of romance is for you, because he very much adores her. He adores her, and he'll like do anything to like get her flustered. And it's cute. It's cute. I like to kick my feet and like giggle. I love that. But there comes a time for me, at least personally, where it's not enough. But I'm hoping and praying that the next 2 volumes is gonna be more. Is gonna be more. But we'll see. We'll see. So far, I do enjoy it though, for what it is. Next one is Ayashimon. Y'all, this is a series that's complete at 3 volumes because it was canceled. And I really wanted to like this series. I did not. This is 3 volumes. It took me 3 days to read this, and I kept getting lost in the story. I kept getting lost. Now, if this is your favorite, again, this is no judgment. I love this, that you like this series. I just couldn't really get to a point where I really liked it. It's unfortunate because I really wanted to like it, because this is from the author of Hell's Paradise, and I loved and devoured Hell's Paradise. But maybe if this was given, another 2-3 volumes to breathe in the story, I would have ended up liking it. But I didn't really like it, and I hate that I said it. But basically, this is a story about, what's his name? Mauro? Okay. So, Mauro here is the main character. And this is like that sort of like main duo character situation. And Mauro is just a 15-year-old boy who is, I believe he's 15. I don't remember. He is a young boy, and he is just suffering from what I call the one punch man syndrome. He has trained himself to be so strong where he can just one punch any normal human being. Now, he ends up running into this girl who is an Ayashimon. Ayashimon are, there are these beings who end up being like, the syndicate, the underworld syndicate. They are these like demons that are running the syndicates essentially. And he runs into her, and he's protecting her from a bunch of other Ayashimon. And it's basically their story together of how like they form this, bond. Yeah, I think that's the best thing that I could call it, because I don't remember what it's called. It's like him swearing his loyalty to her, and them trying to find out what happened to her father, because her father happened to be the head of the Enma syndicate, which was the biggest syndicate in the underworld. And now there are these like fraction parts of the family, and she's trying to find out who killed her father. And it's like this, just the story of that. And, we don't find out who killed her father because obviously the story didn't get to finish. But the fact that it was like that one punch man syndrome, I couldn't like the main character. I couldn't like him. And I'm gonna be honest, I tend to not like shonen main characters. It's very weird because I like shonen stories. I just don't like shonen like protagonists for some reason. I don't know. I'm a conundrum. But I think that was the reason why I couldn't really like the series, was because the story hadn't given me a character to really like yet. And I think that's probably why. Like, I wasn't invested in the story yet. But you know what? I wish I liked it more. I really wanted to like it more, and I just didn't. But again, like, try it out and see if you like it. Even though I don't like a story, I will never say I wouldn't recommend a story. But it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. I think that's what it is. It just wasn't for me. it had not found its place in my heart. But listen, try it. Again, I feel like if I give out more information, I'd be spoiling it. But yeah, that's really all I can say. Yeah, like again. Next one is Asadora Volume 9. I think this is the only volume I read this the last 2 months, because I read the other volumes at the end of last year, whatever. You know what? I think I found the reason why this is not a lot of people's favorite Naoki Urasawa works. Because at the beginning, when I started reading this series, I was trying to figure out why people would say that this is not like Naoki Urasawa's like better works. And I feel like it's because it's missing something that feels quintessential to like Naoki Urasawa works, where it's like there is this villain, you know? There's this like there's this like villain that is like all knowing, all seeing, just like crazy aura type of villain. And I think that's what's missing from the story for people to feel like it is the best Naoki Urasawa work. Because, you know, in Monster, it's Johan. In 20th Century Boys, it's the friend. Like, I haven't really read that many of, even though I really like Naoki Urasawa, I haven't read all of his stuff. But those are sort of the two bigger ones where it's like this, you know. Oh, Pluto as well, right? Where it's like not, and I guess in Pluto it's not a villain, but there is this like impending like what the fuck is happening, and there is that element in Asadora, but there is no villain, right? At least as of right now, I don't see a villain in this story. It's very much like this situation that's happening that nobody really knows how to control because it's a situation, and it feels more different than any of his other works. Where again, in Monster, there was Johan, this like evil embodiment type figure. In 20th Century Boys, this evil embodiment, right? You know, the devil reincarnate type of character where people were like, oh my god, like how is one gonna take down the friend? How is one gonna take down Johan? And I feel like that's missing in the story of Asadora, and I feel like that's why people don't think it's really good. And I'm trying to really like not have that frame of mind when I'm reading it. I think it's an interesting story told at a slower pace, if that makes sense, because there is no like, this is volume 9, there is no like, I can't really describe it. It's not, for lack of a, there's no like, there's a build up, but there is no like glimpse of who is the reason why there are these buildups, right? Because again, the story feels like for lack of a better term, more natural disaster-y than like a man-made disaster in Johan, in the friend type of situation. Excuse me. So I feel like that's the reason why a lot of people are not crazy about the story of Asadora. But I'm liking it so far. Like, it does have that mystery aspect that is very quintessential to Naoki Urasawa works. So it's keeping me. It's keeping me. I don't know how long this story is gonna be, because I think this is his ongoing work. So I don't know. I don't know how long it's gonna be. But I am interested to see where this is go. I'm interested to see that if there is like an actual villain in this story or if there isn't. So this is gonna be interesting. I do recommend though, like if you want Naoki Urasawa with not this like layer and layer and layer and layer of like twists and turns, I think this is I think, you know what? I think this is a great place to start with Naoki Urasawa, if that makes sense. Like, I know a lot of people will say start with Monster or start with 20th Century Boys. I will say that it's very hard as like someone who is not what's the good way to describe it? It is a hard bite to take. I'm not gonna lie, because it is very thick and dense type stories. Like, loved Monster, I love 20th Century Boys. It is very dense work. I if I'm being 1000% honest, it is not the easiest thing to get through. But I feel like this is more laid back. This is more digestible for someone who doesn't know Naoki Urasawa. And and you know what? I'm gonna stand by that. I feel like I have not read Pluto. I watched a few episodes of Pluto. I have not read Pluto, but I feel like it's gonna be either this or it's gonna be Pluto. Like a good place to start with his works would be, yeah, more easily digestible. Yeah, I said what I said. So far, I will say this was not my favorite volume. So I will say that this is maybe 3.54 stars. I did like the earlier volumes of Asadora. So this, not my favorite volume, but again, I know Naoki Urasawa is not gonna let me down. I just need to continue on. So I'm excited to see where this is gonna go. This is the one that I definitely have a rant to go on about. I definitely do. I definitely do because I absolutely loved this series. Loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. This is Black Torch. I'm gonna be 1000% honest. I picked this up just one of those days. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, it only has 5 volumes. I'm going to pick this up because it's a short series. I don't have a lot of space. And I was like, this doesn't seem like a big time commitment. And it took me, I think volume 1, I think I bought like 3 years ago or something like that. I'd bought it a while ago. And it was only recently when I was like, okay, it only has 5 volumes. I need to get my shit together and I just need to buy all of it and I just need to read it. And then one night I sat down and I was like, I'm just going to read Black Torch. And then it was the best decision I had ever made. Again, this is a canceled series at 5 volumes. I know there's an anime coming out for this series. I do not know if the anime, hear me out, I don't know if the anime is going to stop at 5 volumes where it ends in the manga or if it's going to continue on, but either way it has an opening to do both, because when I tell you I loved this series, I love this series so much more than I thought I was going to love it. I love this series so much. I feel like I wish. Hopefully, maybe if the anime gets really good ratings, it'll come back. And, like, the author could come back and finish the manga or, like, give more to it. Because I loved this. I sat there and I kid you not, I flew through 5 volumes in maybe 3 hours. I've never done that. You know, I'm a weird reader where it's like sometimes I'll read 3 volumes and I'm like, I don't want to read it no more. I could not put this down. And it feels like I'm really hyping up this story. And I'll tell you why I'm really hyping this story up. Is because this story reminded me so much of Bleach. It reminded me so much of Bleach, from like the premise to the characters to just the like overall messaging and to like the arcs. Like it felt like I was reading Bleach in a different perspective. Like, not to take away from the story in any way am I trying to take away from the story, but it felt so like as an homage to Bleach. And I love Bleach. If you know who I am, if you've ever like, you know, scrolled on my TikTok or anything, I was a Bleach content creator on TikTok. I loved Bleach so much. Bleach, as an adult, I had gained so much respect for Bleach as a story as an adult, where this felt like an homage. And I was so happy reading it because, listen, when I tell you the absolute way that I would have to fight for my life as a Bleach content creator, as someone who loved Bleach, because listen, you know, it might be different nowadays, but back in the day, back in them early days, you know, people ragged on the story of Bleach. People said like it wasn't a good story. You know, the only thing that Bleach has going for itself is the artistic style. There was no messaging, there was no character development. You know, Ichigo didn't have a motivation. Like, just the absolute way people would talk about the story of Bleach. And you know what? Now it's probably different. I don't know. I haven't really been in the, at least the TikTok space that much. But listen, sometimes I'll come across a forum where people are like still trying to fight for tooth and nail at the idea that Bleach is not, doesn't have a place in the big three, where it's like, listen, you would not, listen, this is the rant part, you would not have, like, like 50, more than half of the percentage of newer gen anime without Bleach. Because Bleach, like, I know a lot of people like to give Naruto its flowers, and Naruto and One Piece definitely deserve their flowers, but for the way that Bleach has either inspired a lot of stories or have inspired those mangakas to become mangakas, at an early age, people just don't give Bleach its flowers. And when I read this, it felt like I was like, oh my God, this is like such an homage, where it made me so happy. It made me so happy, right? Back to Black Torch. This is the story of Jiro, and Jiro is a descendant from ninjas, and he can talk to animals. And at this point, I've read the whole thing. He's the only one who's exhibited a unique type of power like this. So I don't know if the anime goes on like into the story, and the author has like a hand in the storytelling in the anime, if anybody else is going to pop up with a weird sort of power like this. But anyways, he has the power to talk to animals, and then he ends up saving this wayward cat one day in the forest, and he ends up finding out that this cat is very magical, right? He's and then like the way that the cat, Rago, yeah, is it Rago? Yes. The way that Rago is set up in the story as one of these most powerful like spirits, and what ends up happening is that Rago gets hunted down, and Jiro is trying to protect Rago, and Rago's like, why would you protect me, like I'm just this like demon. Oh, like, yeah, there's like an exercising sort of situation with all of this, so that's why he's like, I don't like humans type of situation. But anyways, Rago ends up saving Jiro, and they become one entity, right? So Rago now resides in Jiro's body, and it's just like their story, right? And it's very much reminiscent of like the bond that Ichigo and Hollow Ichigo, even though Hollow Ichigo is Ichigo, it's very reminiscent of the bond, right? They become more attuned to one another. They become like, they become really good friends. So it's the same type. I wouldn't even say same, because again, Hollow Ichigo. Let's say if Yuji and Sukuna became friends, like that's the type of dynamic that is here. Yeah, like if Sukuna and Ichigo if Sukuna and Itadori became friends, that's like the situation in here. But yeah, again, there was a lot of like homage to Bleach. There was this one specific instant where it was an homage to Naruto, and it was so on the nose that I was like, oh my God, this author must have been like a really huge fan of like Naruto and Bleach growing up, or just as an adult. I don't know who they are, but yeah, either way, like I think it was very much the Sasuke and Itachi situation that was in here. It had to have been an homage to Naruto, and I'm not gonna take that away. But I loved it. Even the last arc. I'm going off on rants. Either way, story 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5 for it only being 5 volumes. 5 out of 5. Art 5 out of 5. And again, I absolutely adored this series. And even though again I'm like attaching a lot of my love for this series, it seems like, to Bleach because of Bleach, I really do think that this story, if I didn't know Bleach, I think I would have loved it regardless, because it's very like cool. It's very cool. It's very like there's a lot of emotion behind it, so it's like I can still see myself really loving this series, and I love it. I love it so much. I highly recommend. Even if you feel like 5 volumes is not enough, I can attest to you. I feel like there was only one part in this series where it was like the build up to the last arc where it felt rushed, and obviously because it was the 4th volume and the series was going to end at volume 5, so I understand why that part felt very rushed and it felt like something was missing. but I do feel like this series was done very well in the amount of volumes that it was done in. I also feel like the way that it ended, it was very open-ended. It felt like if the author could come back and continue, it would work. And the way that it ended also works. I was very satisfied with the way that it ended. Like, I was very satisfied. I don't know if you can tell, I really love this series. Like, I cannot wait for the anime. I cannot wait for the anime. I'm excited for the anime. And it's been a very long time since I really like watched anime. But I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So excited. So excited. Anyways, yeah. And with that, I finished everything that I have read in the last month, 2 months, January and February. I don't know where those months went. I don't know how it's already month 3 in 2026. It always feels like the first part of the year goes by really fast and the last part of the year goes by really slow. I don't know if anybody else feels like that, but it definitely feels like that for me. But I'm excited to see where else I go in this manga journey. I have picked up a few mangas in the last week or so. I shouldn't have, but I did. And who's gonna stop me? Because I am now fulfilling my childhood dream with adult money. So you know what? I don't know what's gonna happen. Again, I got rid of a lot of manga, so I have the space now to redo some shit. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm excited. We're gonna see where this goes. Maybe I'll do more of these. I feel like I talked for way too long, but I did go on a few rants, so you know, that just chaotic like that. I don't know. I do have a lot more series to go to. I have so many, but this is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, this is pretty good for the first part of the year, first 2 months of the year, and it's only gonna go up from here. Fingers crossed. I do have 26 series that I said I was gonna read in this year. My 26 for 26, but who knows? Who absolutely knows? Because now I feel like everything that I said, you know, it's fine. Anyways, and that's all I have for this manga review. I hope you guys like it. I know I talk way too much. I will have to figure out a way to cut down everything that I say, because sometimes I just rant and sometimes I don't know when to shut up, and that's my own problem. Anyways, but yeah, that's everything I read in January and February. Where do those months go? I do not know. February always seems to just blow in and blow out in just a blink of an eye, but it's already March. But we're gonna continue to read. I'm gonna continue to tackle my TBR and get it down to where I need to get it so I can get more books to add to my TBR, which I've already done, but you know what? It's fine. And let me know if these books are on your TBR, if you're planning on reading them. Let me know if you've already read them. Let me know if you're planning on reading them, because a girl would love to know. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And you can meet me back here for more reaction and manga content. Peace, y'all.